I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I don't know if any of you feel that way now or have for some time or just in the last few weeks, but there's a lot going on that is just weighing me down, whether it is looking around at what's going on with the planet and literally seeing islands that people live on disappearing, sections of the United States literally permanently disappearing because of the rising tides. I see a situation in our country where a good portion of people think one of the presidential candidates is the third part of the Trinity, and another portion, I'm not looking, and half and this is not half and half, right? But a good portion think that one of the candidates is the third part of the Trinity, and a good portion of this population was disappointed the bullet didn't go 3 inches to the right. Right? That's where we are as a country. I don't feel okay when I see that in our society. When I see that there are children dying of diseases that have cures, I am not okay. When I see other things going on, when I hear the stories of people who are struggling but making heroic stances, coming in here thinking that everybody else has it figured out, and are like, I just wish I could be like everybody else here who has it all together and has all this faith. And I'm like, if you talk to everybody here like I did, you would know very differently. Because we're not all here because we've got it all figured out. Here because we need something. And it's better when we call that out honestly and call that out together. Does anybody else, you don't have to put your hand up, you don't have to admit it out loud, but does anybody else feel like you're not okay right now? It's been building. I can feel it building. It's been building for a long time. But then again, in the last 3 weeks, it's gotten so much worse. Anybody here play backgammon? Anybody here play backgammon? All right. So backgammon, if you think you have the advantage and you're betting against the other person, there's this doubling cube. You can say, I think I have the advantage, and I'm going to double the bet right now. And the person has the choice to withdraw or accept the bet and go into it. I felt in the last 3 weeks, all that pressure, boom, the doubling cube just went down. That the stakes just got higher, that the pressure just got higher. And I can see, plus the full moon. Anybody, right? The full moon. Like, let's not ignore the full moon, right? But it all comes down, and I'm not fully okay. It doesn't mean I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. It doesn't mean that you're about to lose your pastor. It doesn't mean that I'm about to be crushed, because there's something there that helps. But part of what I think helps in these situations is to be honest about the situation we're living in, honest about how we are feeling. And I do wish, and I hope that some of you aren't feeling this way. I hope most of you, I hope I'm the only one feeling this way, and that you're all like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I suspect that's not the case. And one of the things that helps so much for me, and I hope helps you, is coming together, but also what's said in here, because one of the most consistent themes in this Bible, from the Hebrew Bible through the New Testament, from Jesus all the way through the letters of Paul and other people, is this: we are in trouble. We need your help. I don't know how I'm going to go on, but I know I can do it because I know God is faithful, and God has shown it before, and God's going to do it again, and I will persevere. I will persevere. And this is some of the stuff that we saw in 3 of these readings, like one in Psalms. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Well, isn't God there and near for everybody? Sure. But time and time and time again, make no mistake about this, God is very clear on this topic. Jesus is very clear on this topic. Jesus and God and the Spirit draw closer to those who are brokenhearted and hurting. Jesus cares more about the oppressed than he does about the privileged. Jesus cares more and will be more present about the people who are hurting than the people who have it all together. Jesus will be more present. God will be more present for those who put out their hand and call, because they promise they will be there when we call. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. And that can be hard to internalize. Because when you're brokenhearted and crushed in spirit, do you necessarily feel super close to God in that moment? Sometimes it feels like you've been abandoned, which is why we need to call out in that trust. And it continues in Lamentations. And if you haven't figured this all out already, the word lament, Lamentations, this is a whole section of people saying, oh my God, I need help. I can't do this on my own. In Lamentations 3:21 through 24. But this I call to mind, and therefore, meaning because of this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. What is that thing that this person is calling to mind, and therefore they have hope? But this I call to mind, and therefore have hope, because of the steadfast love of God. Steadfast meaning trustworthy, persistent, unmoving. This I call to mind, and therefore I have hope, the steadfast, trustworthy love of God that is persistent and unmoving and never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. Therefore, I will have hope in God. And then we go to 2 Corinthians, Paul's second letter to the church that he established in Corinth. And I love this, because the promise continues here. He's like, we're afflicted in every way. I'm like, oh, you can feel this too? Paul, like 2,000 years ago, you had this feeling as well that some people are feeling? We're afflicted in every way. And then one of those power words in the Bible. Right? Big power word in the Bible. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Afflicted, but not crushed. We are perplexed. I'm perplexed looking around this country, looking around this town right now, looking around this world, like what is going on? Perplexed, but not driven to despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. And I'm not trying to weigh one group of people as better than another group of people. What I'm trying to tell you is this. People who come together in a community of faith do better in these situations than people who do not. One, just for the very nature of being in community, but two, because there is something to sustain them, to lift them up in the midst of it. And sometimes it's important for us to say, I am not okay, because that's the first awareness, and to acknowledge that pain so that we know to put up our voices and say, I need this help. Because if you do that, if you're afflicted, it's going to be okay, because even though you're afflicted, God is going to stand forward. But we need sometimes to call out the reality, what is going on, to lament before we say, oh, okay, let's go fix everything. Because that denial, the lack of public acknowledgement that some of us feel this way, and you may not feel what I'm feeling right now, and that's fine. But as I was trying to process these feelings and saying, how are we going to convey this? I wrote this, and this is the first time I've ever done a song in this style, and I make sure to get a lot of help from a lot of people I respect in this style, and hopefully it comes across, but hopefully this has meaning to you. I know I normally give out the lyrics to a song because it's going to be hard to track. We will give out the lyrics afterwards if you would like to see them and you couldn't quite follow them, but this is something that we want you to feel as much as hear. I hope this has meaning for you. So I'm going to test something out since everything's been moved around. Make sure Dave does drums, okay? We're good? All right. I am not okay. I am not okay. The news is getting worse, but that won't break me today. I am not okay. Our country is not okay. Our country is not okay. Some say he's the Christ, some said the bullet went astray. trickster's making his move. The trickster's making his move, twisting up the facts while what's real is just confused. The trickster's making his move, and Jesus' name is taken in vain. Jesus' name's been taken in vain, twisting all his claims. Now it's a name we must reclaim, 'cause Jesus' name's been taken in vain. Sometimes I don't know what to do. Sometimes I don't know what to do when people turn to hate in God's name. Sometimes I don't know what to do. So I'm going to pray. I am going to pray, because I believe the promise that'll help me find a way. Because I believe the promise that he'll help me find a way. Yes, I'm going to pray, and I will not wear out. No, I will not wear out, because the strength of God won't fail me now. Because the strength of God won't fail me now. Because the strength of God won't fail me now. No, I will not wear out. Still, I am not okay. I am not okay. But when we call on Jesus, he will help us find a way. Yeah, when we call on Jesus, he will help us find a way. Yeah, when we call on Jesus, when we call on Jesus, he will help us find a way. So let's go follow that way. Let's go follow that way. Let's go follow that way. Let's go follow. Let's go follow. Let's go follow.